After a chaotic 2-week period where major news were breaking on almost a daily basis with things looking to get back to a more routine cycle following Rock's return in the build to Sunday's King of the Ring pay-per-view, 2 hours before SmackDown went on the air at 8 p.m., a news headline showed up in the front page of the WWE website with another blockbuster announcement, with the company announcing the shocking return of Vince Russo to the company at around 6 p.m. on Thursday evening. As at a time where legit surprises to most of the inside internet audience were starting to become a thing of the past with constant leaks to various websites and news outlets in and out of the business, the Russo news came out of nowhere with no prior hint or report on any publication, with the only 3 people in the know being Russo, Vince and Shane McMahon. With McMahon, who just last Friday in an interview on the Byte This internet show saying that Russo's return wasn't in consideration up until now, but they have an open door policy, having several secret creative meetings with Russo at his house that resulted in McMahon hiring Russo back to oversee the creative teams of both the Raw and SmackDown brands, reuniting the most successful creative combination in industry history in Russo and McMahon, who oversaw the unprecedented viewership and business explosion from mid-97 to the time Russo left in October '99, with Russo, who was in McMahon's house on Thursday when the announcement was publicly made, with him set to stay there for the night before the first creative meeting with the entire crew on Friday to start the new setup heading into the first show of the new direction next Monday. Is set to face several unusual situations created over the past 2 years, with one of them being working with Hulk Hogan again for the first time since the infamous Bash at the Beach incident in July 2000, with Hogan still having a lawsuit going on against Russo and Time Warner, with Hogan opening SmackDown on the night in a confrontation with Kurt Angle, building up their pay-per-view singles match on Sunday to open SmackDown with 4.4 million viewers. In addition to meeting with the new team in a completely different structure than the last time he worked in the company, with creative meetings of around 10 or more people at a time, along with the political fireworks that are about to go off, with Russo coming in as practically the boss of every member currently on the team, including the main writers in Brian Gowards for the Raw brand and Paul Heyman on SmackDown, and with the company filled with potential political enemies looking to keep their spot. The first one to publicly comment on Russo's return was Jim Ross on his weekly website report, saying that while he had personal issues with Russo for the way he left the company and due to the creation of the Oklahoma character, their one goal, with all personal agendas aside, is to make the company better, and hopefully Russo will contribute creatively for the improvement of the product to turn things around from the recent slide. SmackDown closed out the first hour with Triple H vs Billy Gunn going 5 minutes to pick up the show to over 5.2 million viewers, with Hunter, who is set to work the pay-per-view title match on Sunday with an elbow injury, due to the changes following Austin's departure, was recently booked to work on 2 house shows on the same night on June 29th that would see him wrestle midway through the SmackDown show in Providence before immediately flying to Manhattan to headline the Raw show in the Garden, with the plan ending up being cancelled due to his elbow issues that would now see the big Madison Square Garden event built as Hogan's return to the Garden in a decade that was originally scheduled to see Hogan and Austin teaming for the first time in the main event, being headlined by a Hogan vs Taker title match with Angle vs Edge set for the main event spot on the other show opposite, with the crossover segment at the top of the hour seeing Undertaker confronting Vince McMahon to set up the main event for the night with Angle vs Taker in less than an hour, followed by the first of 2 King of the Ring qualifying matches saved for the second hour, with Chris Jericho vs Val Venis going 5 minutes, with Jericho advancing to take on Van Dam in the first confirmed semi-final on the pay-per-view. Perhaps SmackDown's most hyped segment of the night was next, with it in an unusual situation being the replay of Rock's all-time memorable promo on Monday night, with the company since the start of the broadcast building it up by advertising Rock's appearance for tonight to indirectly give the notion to viewers that he might be on the show in person. Seeing the promo replay, which on Monday spiked big past 11 p.m. to Raw's most watched segment in over a month with over 6.8 million viewers, despite only going 4 minutes, drawing SmackDown's second most watched quarter of the night with over 5.5 million viewers, only behind the main event coming up, with the SmackDown taping in Sacramento on Tuesday seeing another major appearance taking place even before the TV taping started, with Rey Mysterio making his official company debut to work a dark match against Funaki before the taped matches for Saturday's Velocity show, with Rey returning under a mask for the first time in 3 years since losing it in a hair versus mask match to Nash and Hall on the WCW Super Brawl pay-per-view in February 1999, saying in a local interview that he's going back to wearing it in the same city he lost it in California, with Rey reportedly getting a massive ovation for his debut from the Sacramento crowd, with JR putting over his performance and the crowd reaction, saying that he can be a major player for the company in the near future. With Test going over Bob Holly to close the card for Sunday, with the 2 semi-finals officially set as Test vs Lesnar and Jericho vs Van Dam, with legitimately high stakes with the SummerSlam title shot on the line. The King of the Ring pay-per-view Sunday, which is set to see Rock's first pay-per-view appearance since WrestleMania 18, in addition to the top 3 matches of Taker vs Hunter, Hogan vs Angle, and Eddie vs Flair. In a sign of the times, the show is said to be the first WWF pay-per-view since the company entered the first stages of the boom period almost 5 years ago, with no official match on the card for either Austin or Rock and with limited involvement from McMahon. And after having almost complete monopoly on a pay-per-view market in the industry since March 2001, the first potential alternative debuted yesterday, with the Jarrett-backed NWA TNA company having their first ever show under the weekly pay-per-view format, featuring Scott Hall as the top name, along with the wrestling return of Ken Shamrock to win the NWA title in the main event battle royal, including Ed Ferrara on commentary and as part of the writing team, with Russo and Ferrara now for the first time on opposite sides, with major curiosity in the industry on the number of buys TNA can do on a weekly basis after Vince McMahon publicly questioned the business model, saying that viewers can already watch 2 major weekly TV events in Raw and SmackDown without ordering it for $9.95 unless TNA present a completely unique product, with SmackDown's main event built over the last hour seeing Undertaker vs Kurt Angle going 7 minutes to peak the night in the final quarter with around 6 million viewers, ending up with the 4 participants of the double headliner on Sunday in the ring for the show closing brawl.